What is up, Headless Horde? What is up? What is up? Happy New Year to everybody out there. Hope you guys had a great holiday. I've been off for a couple weeks, even though I did do some gaming streaming. Yes, you got to see all of my epicness in Call of Duty. You're welcome, Internet. Tonight, we are talking a little bit about House of the Dragon, and we're going to be talking about the differences between the book and the television series through season number 1. So I'm going to bring on my co-host, and we're going to get this thing started. And I do have to do one other small thing, too. I am in a fantasy football league that's just based for the playoffs. So I'm going to do a very, very quick draft order. It's going to take literally like 3 seconds. I just got to click one button. I already have it set up. I just need to generate that. So, Mr. Ryan Milkey, sir, how are you? How was your holidays?
It was good. It was chill. I had a good fun. I didn't get to celebrate twice like I usually do because I was already drunk the first time round and fell asleep about 4 o'clock in the morning.
Well, there you go.
I was very drunk on Brewdog Hazy Jane.
Oh,
Hazy
Jane. That's a good one, dude. That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I had 10 cans. I was pretty gone.
Yeah, we had some people over. We went to dinner, and then we actually just came back and played some Jackbox TV, and geez, man, I had about 5 old fashions, and then we had some champagne at midnight, and then I went to sleep at like 12:10. So that was that. But yeah, that's good, man. What's up,
It's good to be back, and Happy New Year. Can't wait to see what we do in 2024. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, man. I'm looking forward to it. The big date is January 21st for me, so I can reapply for this YouTube thing, and we'll see what happens at that point. I feel like I've made quite a bit of changes here in the last 12? Well, not 12 weeks, about 10 weeks. I feel like I've done a lot to the channel to hopefully satisfy their taste buds on the content and whatever. So, I literally, we've talked about this, and I literally went through over 500 thumbnails, and I've probably edited 300 or 400 of them at this point, and I'm just kind of done. It's a lot of work, and we'll see what happens. So, but what's up there, Anthony Blaze? Papa Missouri's in the house. What's up, Dan? What's up, Kenneth Bird? Christina Payne. Christina came in late yesterday during my the old Call of Duty stream, and we were talking a little bit. So appreciate you guys.
See you chatting. I was on a call with my editor. I could see you guys chatting. I was still watching you in the background.
Yeah. I know you stopped in. Blaze was in there for quite a while. Anyways. I know Dan and Duck came in too. I think this the night before. So what's up, Bumpy?
10 people in the chat. Love to see it.
Yeah. All right, so let's do this really quick. Because I'm not sure if anybody in my league is watching or not. Because I know I do have the subscriber comment thing turned on tonight. But if you are in the chat, let's do this really, really quick, and then we're gonna get to this live here. So this is basically like a playoff league. So you can see on the screen, here are the owners' names. So basically, this is just a playoff league. So basically, the way it works is it's a draft. I call it a draft and go, or it's also called a best ball. So basically, you take the 14 teams that make the playoffs this year, and basically we draft 10 players, a quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver, a flex, a tight end, a defense, and a kicker. And there's different strategies in this type of league because there's no lineup sets. So, like Ryan, I know you're not that familiar with football, but basically in a regular fantasy football season, you would actually set your lineup the way it's supposed to, look, and you have players on your bench. Well, there's only 14 teams, so it's only, it's less than half the league that makes the playoffs. And basically, you just kind of pick players that you think will go the furthest, because once that player is out in the playoffs, if their team loses, then what happens is you get no more points for them, and throughout the Super Bowl. So you're trying to find those real good players that will give you the most points, but there's also strategy you want to try to, guess the most and try to pick those teams that go as many rounds as possible because that way you get more points. So, like for me, I'm picking all Browns, baby, because the Browns are going to win the Super Bowl this year. Obviously, we all know that.
Yeah.
We do have the fifth seed. We'll see. We'll see what happens, man. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and generate this draft order, and I'll take a quick screenshot, and then I'll send it out to the old league mates here. All right, here we go. It's literally gonna be one button. I wish it was more jazzy, but this is nice and easy. So, all right, the draft order is in, and we can see. I pulled
Raine on top. There you go.
Yeah. So my buddy Ryan is got the first pick. This dude always gets the first pick. It's unbelievable. Actually, and his son Liam is the second pick. Paul and Thomas are 3 and 4. Anthony are 5. Kobe is 6. John is 7. Tony is 8. Aubrey 9. Rick is 10. I will have 11, which is awful. I hate it, but I do get 2 players in the top 13, which isn't always that bad. And then Ray will get to be the last pick with the turnaround. So that is the draft order, and that draft is next. I think it's next Tuesday, and I might be live for that. I might do this draft out live. We'll see. I haven't decided yet.
It's not me, Quick Draw. I'm not the Raine on top. It's somebody else.
Yeah, it's somebody else. So there is OJ Simpson.
Game.
No, dude, it's not a murderer's draft. Whoa. Are you allowed to say that on the interwebs?
You say what you want. You're not monetized.
Yeah, that's true. That's good point. Bo Jackson, dude. I tell you what, man, Bo Jackson, I think is probably my favorite athlete of all time. I mean, close, with him would be like Michael Jordan, probably. But Bo, man, I remember that when that. So Bo, do you know who Bo Jackson is, Ryan?
No.
So Bo Jackson, he was a 2-athlete. He was a 2A athlete. So he played for the Kansas City Royals in baseball, but he also played for the Raiders in football. And the dude, I mean, I don't know. He wasn't always the best baseball player. I mean, he can sure smack the crap out of the ball. It was his defense, man. He was one heck of an outfielder. And dude, I remember one time he struck out. Dude, he took the lumber, he took that baseball bat and snapped it right over his knee, dude. I mean, my man's calves, or not calves, but his thighs were as thick as my body. Like the dude was just built.
Tree trunks.
And
tree trunks.
Oh, dude, definitely. And I do. I remember sitting there. I was watching that Raiders game, and they were playing the Bengals in the playoffs. It was the first round. And he broke a huge run. It was like 90 yards or something. And he ended up getting caught by one of the cornerbacks or safeties or whatever. And he got tackled on the 1 yard line. And, everyone was going crazy. And, the next play, somebody else came in and ran it in for a touchdown. I'm like, well, man, that's kind of crappy that they didn't put Bo back in. He just did all that work. It's only 1 more yard. Well, then we find out that he tore his, I think he tore his ACL. And he tried to make a comeback, but just was never the same. It was really, really awful, and he was in the prime of his career too. But yeah, Bo Jackson, man, it was funny. They used to have a Saturday morning cartoon. What was it called? Chat, let me know. Does anybody remember what that cartoon was called? It was Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, and Bo Jackson. And it was a Saturday morning cartoon, and they were just like professional athletes who like solved crimes, and it was so funny. I don't remember the name of it though, but yeah, it was kind of fun. So, anyways, but yeah. So if you're still in here from the league, I will. Oh, Pro Stars, there you go. Pro Stars, yeah, there you go. Umpty watched it. I know. Yeah, that's good stuff. But yeah, anyways, if you're still in the league and you're still in here, I will be texting that out after the live. So, all right. House of the Dragon. We have season 2 coming this summer. I am really, really hoping it's going to be either end of May or it's going to be after San Diego Comic-Con, because if I'm away for 3 weeks, I'm going to be very upset. But I'll tell you what, we are still going to be doing lives. I will somehow figure it out, Ryan, because I have to do it. So we'll figure this thing out.
My guess is July 21st, first episode.
And I'd be all right with that, because I would only be away for 2 episodes. It's better than 3 episodes. So if it starts in June, it would be the finale, because remember, it's only 8 episodes this year, unfortunately. But
No, it's only
but
6.
yes. So, what'd you say?
It's only 6. It was 8 on the first season. It's 6 this season.
Mm-mm. It was 10 the first season.
No? Oh, was it?
Yeah. I just got done rewatching it like before I went to Florida. Yeah, okay. It was 10 episodes, and then now they cut it down to 8. Now you've already read through it. So do you think it's just because of the content available to get to season 3? Because I think they said they wanted to try to go 4 seasons with this.
They will go 4 seasons with it, but I'm sure they cut episodes down. So you are correct; they're only doing 8 this season, and it should continue to do 8 more for the following seasons. Okay. But there should be 4 seasons.
So 4 seasons. So, because I just got done listening to the audiobook. I listened from the very, very beginning with Aegon the Conqueror, and his sister wives and all that, which I enjoyed that a lot. I like that because in Game of Thrones, Arya talks about that a little bit, and with Tywin, and it's cool because you've heard of the stories before, and then listening to audiobook, it was
the origin
cool.
Story is the connection between it all.
Right,
the origin
exactly.
of Aegon and his sisters is the connection for all of the Game of Thrones shows put together because of the the Song of Ice and Fire.
Yep, and then it just continues, like it's over decades and decades, and he's probably over a couple centuries actually, and then finally I know I was telling you the other day, the whole Jaehaerys part was just it was just a little dry for me, and when Jaehaerys is the king, especially when he was a younger king, it's funny. They said he died when I think he was like in his 50s or 60s. I'm like, man, if you would have told me that, dude, that dude looked like he was 90, in the show. But again, I know back then, people definitely looked older than what they were. Obviously we're not talking real life right now, but like even back in the medieval days and all that kind of stuff, and that, but yeah, I guess that overall I really did enjoy it. I was really excited because I know in the one chapter they were talking about how Corlys he was like born. They had a baby boy, and they bring up Corlys's name, so that was kind of cool. They don't really hear from him for a while again, but yeah, then eventually you kind of get to where Jaehaerys has to make that decision of who's going to take over the throne. And it was basically between Daemon, Viserys, or Rhaenys, and the decision. And it's pretty cool because they all in the book, right? In the book, it's really cool the way they do this.
In the book, Rhaenys was never involved.
Well, no, she was a little bit.
She wasn't. She was never in succession to take the throne. She didn't go against Viserys in the book. It was Lena in the book.
Oh, it was Lena. So it was her. It was her. Well, I think they said, didn't they say in the book though? They said that she was kind of part of it, but he would pass on to her son. But she was. Yeah. I thought they said that she could have been the queen. Still, he could have picked her because
they played on it more in the show as the queen that never was. They played on it more in the show. She was never going to get it in the book. It was always made sure that it was going to be male against male, and that's why they made her son Laenor stand in her stead.
Okay. So that's how so that was one little switch then. Okay. And then also, the whole, I really liked the way they kept going back and forth because, Viserys had, so Viserys's father, I'm trying to think now. It was because it's a lot of talking when you listen to these things. So I remember that they talked about the all the different sons that these people had, and then you find out that this one dies, and now like the claim seems to go to someone else now. Wasn't that right around the time with Viserys, or was that before Jaehaerys? Was the king?
I think it was Jaehaerys' kids, right? And then all of Jaehaerys' kids started dying.
Right, so it's Jaehaerys' kids, and that's why
he had to die on the throne.
Right, and that's why it ended up going to like the decision between Viserys and Daemon, and then Laenor. Right, okay, but I thought that was interesting because like I almost forgot that when I rewatched House of the Dragon, in my head the entire time I watched it, and I've watched it like 4 times now. The whole time I'm thinking, oh yeah, Jaehaerys, that's Viserys' father. Well, that's not true at all. That's his grandfather.
Yeah,
Viserys' father.
Yeah, that's his grandfather. Yeah,
Right, had died because that was actually Jaehaerys' son. And I was listening to the book. I'm like, wait a minute, okay, because I kept thinking that Viserys was Jaehaerys' dad, but it's not. So the book definitely got me straight on that part because I'm like, okay, that's right.
Yeah.
I don't remember their names now, the Jaehaerys' sons, but it's a really cool read because it really tells you about like, how they died, and then okay, now all of a sudden out of secession, and that's why it became such a disaster because pretty much all of Jaehaerys' sons had died before he died, and that's why it was such a mess. And again, I don't know, they kind of not rush it in the show because I mean there's so much to cover. I wish they would have taken a little more time maybe explaining that because they don't really explain it that well in the show.
They don't, but I just don't think it needed to have any. When they're talking about the Targaryen fight that we're going to get, you don't really need to know about Jaehaerys' kids and what happens with those to get to where we're going. I think that it set off pretty well. I like how they did the whole 172 years before Daenerys Targaryen to connect the viewership over and to understand.
Yeah.
But yeah, because obviously you got to remember one of the biggest things from the book to the show is the Song of Ice and Fire and the pact of a Targaryen has to be sat on the throne when the White Walkers come. That is never mentioned in the book.
In the book at all. Yeah, that's it.
At all. It's not really a thing.
Yeah, that part is really interesting for me because, we know about all of that from Game of Thrones. And, when Viserys shows Rhaenyra in the show, the dagger and everything, none of that is in the book. So it's interesting that, and I know you were saying like that's something they had to do though to link it all together. Like you had to do that.
Yeah. So think of the scene with Daemon grabbing Rhaenyra's throat in that room and squeezing it. That's not book canon because that's connected to the lore of the prince that was promised and all that stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah.
How much they left out, but it's crazy how much it also works as a show as well and connects.
Right. So I think what we can do is we can maybe let's try to break this down. Maybe we'll do like when if you've seen the show, then you know that it was split into 2 parts basically. It was the first 5 episodes where like when Rhaenyra was younger and she had a good relationship with Allison and they were friends, and then eventually Allison and Viserys get married, and then after that part it's actually after the wedding of Lena and Rhaenyra, then it kind of cuts, and then we jump like, I don't know, what was it, like 10 years or something. And so maybe let's break it down. Like we'll do the first 5 episodes, and then we'll do the big time jump. So maybe we can do that through the differences. So I know you said you have 15 different things that you said was different. I know we probably already talked about a couple of them, but let's start. Start off in the those first 5 episodes. I don't think it has to go directly in order because I mean, it might be hard. I'm sure.
I'll try to keep within the first 5 with the context. If I'm going to say the biggest thing with that was for me from the books to the show, in House of the Dragon. So I wrote down in House of the Dragon the first 2 episodes, Allison and Rhaenyra are really close friends, but that's not the case in the book.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest thing. They're not friends, and they're not like childhood best friends, because at first you think that there might be a romantic relationship maybe blossoming there as well with the way that they show it in the show, but it's not the case. Like, the only time Alicent is instructed by her father Otto Tower to befriend Rhaenyra is the moment her mother dies, and Otto sends her to go look after Viserys and get under his pillow so that she can birth the next heir. It was all a plan for Otto, but yeah, they were never friends.
Do you think that in the show, when Otto tells Alicent to go to Viserys, do you think that Alicent knows what he's doing right there as a young, she's probably like around, I think she's a little older than Rhaenyra, maybe like by a year or two. But do you think at the age of 16 or 17 years old, do you think she understands what he's already having her try to do in the show? In the book, I felt like she already knew what he was trying to do. In the show, I don't know. I was a little bit.
That was where I was going to go with it. When you'd finished, I was going to go with it that way. In the show, I don't think she did, but in the book, she definitely did, because she was the bed maiden to Viserys when he was dying. Otto made her do that too. Not Viserys. What's his name? We just spoke about him. The old man at the beginning. Jaehaerys. Alicent. Yeah, Alicent was a bed maiden for Jaehaerys at the beginning, on his deathbed.
Yeah, so I definitely. Go ahead.
No, she knew in the book, but she didn't know in the show. I think she was still a little naive in the show.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely think that Allison comes off naive, like you said, more in the show. In the book, I think she definitely knows what's going on. But like you said, I mean, Otto, it's so funny. Like, I've seen online, like, people think Otto is like such a bad person, and some other people are like, no, he's just trying to better his own house. So people don't see him as a villain. And I think that's what the show has done so well for people who don't know about the audiobook or didn't read it or didn't listen to it. I think that's what the show has done so well, is that I think they maybe it does lean a little bit toward Rhaenyra's side, but man, there's a lot of crap that Rhaenyra has done that I would not blame people if they were rooting for the Greens, because I still think they make you kind of want to lean toward the Blacks, with who's Rhaenyra's side and Damon's side. But there's definitely some, after listening to the audiobook, there's a lot of stuff that Rhaenyra does, and then we don't get to see it all on screen.
It's not as innocent as everyone thinks.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot more that she that she does that we just don't see on screen. She's very manipulative, and they almost come off and make her sound like, I don't want to say a slut, but like she's definitely slept around more than what we see in the show, and I think that's one of the reasons why. Now, it's interesting that they changed that, because that would definitely have maybe some people lean toward Allison's side more. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but they imply that she has been that way inclined, because we don't get any visual representation of her and Harwin Strong's relationship.
True.
But we see in the show how close they are and how much they are in love. So it kind of insinuates without showing, if that makes sense, in the show's sense. Yeah.
I mean, it almost like maybe it's because of the time jump and we don't get any of that information. But it's funny because I almost, when I watched the show, I'm like, oh, okay, so she was a virgin. She slept with Kristen Cole, and then all of a sudden, and now she is married to Harlan Strong, and and the kids were, I don't know, how old were the kids in that first episode? Like they were pretty young, they weren't
6,
walking
7,
around.
8.
Yeah, so so she's probably already been married for 5 years or at least, or whatever. Well, I guess she's been married to Laenor, but I'm saying like she's been with Harwin, for a while now, obviously. So yeah, it's an interesting little thing that they did in the book, compared, or what they decided to do and change that little aspect of it. Because again, I think in the book they definitely have her come off like she's a little bit more, not just such a sweetheart almost,
Yeah. Another point I remember that they're changing from the books to the show. It was early on, was Corus pushing Viserys to marry his daughter when she was a child, and we saw those scenes of them walking up, and she was a very small child, and he was and that never happened in the book. Corlys never pushed his daughter onto Viserys. It was actually Grandmaster Runsitter, who was actually axed for the show and replaced by Grandmaster Malos, the dog skin fellow that was the Grandmaster.
Yeah.
They replaced him in that character for him. So that kind of storyline came from the Grandmaster. He told Viserys that the pact of him marrying the daughter would strengthen the bond, and that's where that came from. It was never Corlys's idea, but in the show they make it Corlys is forcing it upon him.
So basically it's Corlys who wants to strengthen his house by having Viserys marry Lena when she was like, I think she was like 12, and that in the show they really played off where
material.
They played off in the show where like Viserys wants no part of that. She's only 12 years old, and that's why Allison happens. But yeah, you're right. In the book, Corlys definitely does not. He's not the pusher of all that. Again, maybe that's just showing that Corlys is more of almost like a middle ground character. He's almost like I'm trying to think of Game of Thrones. Like he's more like a Bronn type character. Yeah, like he's in that middle. He wants to improve his own situation, and he's willing to do whatever it takes, basically. So that's kind of what they. At least that's why I view Corlys as in the show. In the book, it definitely seems like he's not as he's just a very good general, and they bring up he's a sea snake a ton of times, and he's a warrior, and he's there to protect the stepstones.
Yeah, a big battle. So yeah, he's gonna have a big battle.
Yeah, big battles, right? Exactly. So I do think they do give his character, I think, a little bit more depth in the show, because he's not a huge part of the book, at least in those early one chapter that is based on the show on season 1. All right, what do you got next?
I'm trying to stay mid, like the first part. So I've got here, Corlys didn't quit the High Council. He steps down from the small council, briefly leaving the realm with no master of ships. This is meant to show a deep rift between House Velaryon. Yeah, he didn't cut down. He went down because his wife was sick, and he had to go back home in the book. He had to go back home in the book to go tend to his sick wife, and he was replaced while he was away.
Yeah, and I also found that Rhaenys was not really in the book that much either. She really wasn't. It was more about Laenor.
Rhaenys is definitely a forward-focused character within the show because of the female empowerment that they're going with Game of Thrones, because Daenerys was getting there, and now we've got the females of Allison and Rhaenyra, so they just keep the dynamic going forward to show that the women do have more power than the men, even though that they claim the power.
Yeah, I mean, Rhaenys in the show, I think, is one of the strongest characters. But again, even rewatching that again, it's like, man, she there's episodes you don't even see her. Like she's very, very she's such a great actor. I think that's Eve Best. And she is so well spoken, and every time she's on screen, it's awesome. But like in the book, like I just feel like she's almost non-existent. Like and again, if you guys haven't read the book or listened to the audiobook, it's not like somebody. It's not like based on someone's point of view. It's basically like a history book. It's like there's a couple different people saying this is what happened, and that's their point of view, but they didn't technically. They're not like a really important person who was it's not like Rhaenyra has right. It's not like Rhaenyra saying this is what happened, or Damon this is saying what happened. It's all based on it's like
the Grandmaster that's saying what happened.
It's the Grandmaster, and it's basically like a history. He breaks it like it's like a history book. Like when it's like I said, I did the audiobook, and it's like a history book being read too. It can be dry at times. I said, I really did. I did enjoy the House of Dragon part because like I already knew what happened, and I did enjoy it. And I'm like, oh wait, that doesn't even happen. And like I said, I'm like, Rhaenys is barely in it.
Yeah, Yeah, that's where I take enjoyment from having the knowledge that I have, simply from just knowing the book and being such a big fan of it. Like the show is now producing these visual representations that I have of things in my mind that I've read, and because of the structure of how the story is told to you through the literature, you get like Headless has just mentioned, you get like different perspectives, and one of them is the jester. It's called Mushroom, and I've mentioned this many times, how I wondered if they would ever bring Mushroom into the show, and I don't think they ever will bring him as a character, but I think that they play around with the aspects of what really happened at certain events, because Mushroom will tell you that Damon was in the whorehouse and he was sleeping with 7 girls and all this stuff was going on, whereas really the true story was there was only one girl, and Mushroom will over exaggerate things, but sometimes he tells the truth and you don't know what to believe. And I'm very interested to know how what they pull out of whose perspective to actually tell the story going forward. It's going to be very interesting, and that's how I still get enjoyment from the show, because otherwise it'd be boring knowing what's coming.
Yeah. No, I completely understand. And, just for me listening to this, I don't even know. Like I mean, there's so much that the show does add. I mean, it's. I think they definitely add more on the second half. That's a little bit different. Now it is interesting because I know we talked about this. I had called you. I was driving home, and I asked Ryan. I said, should I continue on with the next chapter, because it basically the end of the first chapter ends about episode 8 of House of Dragons. So there's 2 more episodes, but like I didn't get any of that information. But he said that the way it jumps around, if I didn't want any spoilers, not to continue. So I didn't continue it. So I'll be curious to see as we head into those first couple episodes. I don't know though. I don't think I can listen to. It sounds like I can't listen to audiobook at the same time as I'm watching these episodes, because I just think there's going to be other things that are going to be spoiled.
I'll be able to fix that for you. I will figure out how you can listen to it, because I do know that you are going to be introduced in your next chapter in the audiobook. You're going to be introduced to people in Winterfell. That is season 2 material.
Yeah.
And you get introduced to the names and the you know how Rhaenyra sends her 2 children. One goes to the tower where the chomp happens, and the other one goes to Winterfell.
Yep.
In the show, it's visually shown to you as a conversation, but in the book, the whole planning of it is told to you. So you get introductions of character names and all these kind of things, which is spoilers if you don't want to know. So yeah, that's why I say stop. Because you haven't heard audio, but you haven't heard audio of the chomp yet, have you? You haven't got to that part.
No. Like I said, the chapter basically ends with Viserys dying, and we'll get to that because that's a huge difference in the book compared to the show as well at the end. I know the other thing that was a lot different, I thought, in that first part, which I think was like, this is probably like episode 4 or something, when we see that whole episode when Rhaenyra is going off with Damon, down to the brothel, and they're seeing like the little play and all that kind of stuff, and she's out there like she's like a street rat or whatever you want to call her. And in the book they mention that like that happens often. Like it's not like it's not like a one shot deal. Like it was like this, like Damon took her down there all the time. But again, when I'm listening to it, I never felt like there was really any type of romantic relationship between Damon and Rhaenyra like we see in the show. I mean, there's definitely tension every time those two are on screen. You're just like, you could tell. But in the book, I didn't feel that as much. But you said you saw some of it in the book.
There's a little bit of it, but it's not in your face like you just said.
Right.
But I kind of agree with you, because in the very beginning of it, and when he's taking her to these places, there isn't very much a sexual thing. The sexual thing and the relationship more comes into hand when it suits them best and when it gives them more power in the book. Yeah. That's when they join up more together. So yeah, but in the show they do definitely insinuate it. But it's Game of Thrones; they're going to have sex in it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like in the book you're right, they almost get together because it's just going to strengthen the house. In the show, it seems like because it's more like because they're in lust or in love, or or whatever you want to call it. And because they've already had that relationship, and then when they meet up again, after everything happens, with Lena and all them, then that's they kind of just is natural almost. So that I think that's a big difference.
Yeah.
The other
Definitely.
difference
and
is
another
too.
difference. Speaking of Damon,
Yeah, go ahead.
Speaking of Damon,
No,
so
go ahead.
Mysario, the White Worm, Mysario, the White Worm, she is supposed to be pregnant in the book, and Damon and his brother argue, and Damon gets sent back to the Vale to his wife, and Damon sends Mysario on a boat to Lice, I think it is, Lice or Lice. He sends her on a boat, and the boat ends up getting smashed into, and she ends up losing the baby on the voyage.
Yeah. Yep.
That doesn't happen in the show. She says in the show that I cannot father any. I cannot. She says she can't carry child, and she's been a slave all her life and all this stuff. So it has different. It's crazy because the way they've done it in the show, they've said that she can't carry child, but in the book, she could have had a child that would have had a right to the throne and succession. Right. So there was, they removed succession from Damon in the show.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I wonder why. That for me, that part would be a great question to ask the showrunners, because I thought that was kind of an important part. Because I'm like thinking, they're talking about her being pregnant. I'm like, wait a minute, I don't think she was ever pregnant in the show. And
no, she says she can't. He lies about it on the bridge. He lies about it on the bridge and says she's pregnant. And she comes to the next scene. She's like, "Why did you say I was pregnant? I can't be pregnant."
Yeah. And the other thing too is that they send Raven back down to the Vale, and he's there for a long time. Like that definitely does not happen in the show. And I think I'm not sure now if this is on the first. I think this is the second half. But when his wife dies, when he kills her, I don't get any of that Damon killed her in the book. Ray or Rio. Rio.
I don't think it did. Yeah, Rio.
Yeah, because I feel like that was totally added for just the show, to kind of gets build on his character a little bit, because it definitely does not sound like he actually does the killing in that. It's like she literally just has an accident. But again, when it's being voiced by somebody who just is saying what they know, it's like I said, it's a history book. I'm sure there's a ton of stuff in different history books that things have happened that we will never know about, that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So that's kind of the way that it is. Yeah. The other interesting thing is too, I wonder how much, I know George R.R. Martin was put into the show, is someone, they can talk to and help. I wonder how much he's an actual writer for the show. And I wonder if he actually said, this is actually what happened. Or I wonder like what was it changed just because it's on TV, or was it like, this is what he was thinking the whole time, but because he structured this as a history book, he knows that there's these little gaps that we never would have known just reading the book, and that he's like, this is the way it would have. This is actually what happened, but the Maester didn't know that. And so I'm just curious. That'd be interesting to see in like a documentary or something about the show, and see how that all works out. I don't know. It just that kind of stuff interests me when there's drastic changes like that. From the book, because like when they write a Star Wars book, it's the movie's out first, and then they adapt the book from that, and then they can go fix little things here and there. This is a lot different because this was a book first. So
yeah. Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi got done.
So I know the other. Okay, yeah, no worries, man. So the other big part was too, Allison's. When she does not walk into the wedding with that red gown, or I'm sorry, that green gown. It's totally different in the book.
No.
It's not at the wedding at all.
No, it's not. That's correct. It's very different, and it just shows when they do things, when they change from the literature, how they can make it better. Because for me, they made that scene way better in the show.
It's
way more impactful.
Yeah, it's much better.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think now too. again, I know we're kind of bouncing around here on those first 5 episodes. It doesn't, Emma. Viserys doesn't. I don't think they mentioned him having to make that choice. I think the baby just dies, and I think she just dies from regular childbirth. I don't think it's because he tells them to cut her open. If I remember correctly, they added that for the show as well.
Correct. He's at the tournament. He returns from the tournament, and he's informed that the baby died, and she died in childbirth. He was never there. He was in the tournament.
Yeah, so that's another little interesting change, and I wonder why. Because Viserys the whole season he's definitely not a I don't know. I mean, he wanted a son so badly, but he's not like a malicious person. Not that makes him
the man he used to be since he's.
Yeah, but it doesn't make him look like a. I don't know. It's just an interesting thing for that they decided to change based on his character the rest of the season, because I don't know. It's just interesting. To me, that almost doesn't fit his character. I guess if you're given that decision, but I don't know. I mean, obviously I've never been put in that place, so I don't know. It's an interesting change for me. But again, it is a welcome one. It's a great scene.
Yeah. Definitely. But one of the other things I remember that is different is Kristen Cole getting the guard ship. He got that in the book out of pure honor and pure vigor. He was the right man for the job, whereas in the book, in the show, he only got it because she was infatuated with him. Like, she didn't care who was in that room of nights when she chose. She just knew she was choosing Kristen Cole because she fancied him. In the book, it was never implied that she fancied him straight away. He was the right man for the job.
Yeah.
Yeah,
their relationship is
he got it out of honor instead of information.
Yeah, their relationship in the book is definitely it seems like it was longer than in the show. In the show, it seems like it's a half an episode. But again, you're trying to, you got to condense stuff, I guess. And then we, of course, we had that time jump. That was the other thing too. When he kills Joffrey at the wedding in the series, that doesn't happen in the book either. That's somewhere else.
Yep.
And
Lena dies in the book.
Yep, and then later on, Lena actually dies. Now, I was thinking about that. So here, why don't we'll jump over to the second half, because we're kind of going over there anyways now. So that's interesting, because again, if you are a maester writing a history book, you wouldn't know about that secret plan. So that's kind of going back to I wonder if George ever did anything with that. Now, granted, you've read the entire thing, so you know if Lena shows up again, and I think you've told me he doesn't. So it's either he did escape with I can't remember his buddy's name or whatever, but it's interesting if we're going to see Lena again, because if we don't see Lena again in the show, it's implied he died in the book, but maybe this is actually what happened. So it'll be interesting to see if he comes back. Do you think he's going to come back in the show?
No.
You don't think we're going to see Lena again?
I think that we'll hear of Lena, and we might be led down a path with the other family that they would be trying to deceive. So it's hard to explain. You kind of see in the trailer, the sea smoke, and you see this character in the trailer.
Yeah.
And in the show, I think that they're gonna maybe try and say that he is a returning Lena, maybe, but it's definitely not. So in the book, he's dead. I don't know how they're going to play it off, but I like that they did it the way they did it, because, like you just pointed out, it's the telling of a maesters, and they weren't there, and they wouldn't have known of that secret pact. And that's the genius between Ryan Condal and George R. R. Martin. And that's what I love about it. So I like that you brought it up like that, because I didn't even think about it. It's a telling from a maester's point of view. So how would they have known about the secret pact if that's really what happened? in the book, we're just led to believe that he died in that fire.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's probably right too. Yeah, again, it's interesting that they kept him alive, and I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about it because I don't know if we're gonna, if we don't see him again, it's kind of like I'm just interested why. Like, who cares? Like, he wasn't that big of a character, I don't know. So the other part we see in the series is when Lena, she is married to Damon, and she's having the same issue that Emma had back in episode 1, and then she takes her baby who is basically dead, and she has Vhagar actually burn her to death. And in the book, that doesn't happen like that either. So in the book, I think they explain that she dies kind of like going to Vhagar, but she dies like
she's going down the steps, and she's on the beach, and she dies on the beach before she gets there.
And then Damon finds her. So again, interesting. I mean, maybe us just have a little, have some dragon action there. Again, I remember when we saw that. I mean, we both loved that scene.
Love how they changed it.
Yeah, so I think that was a good change. It makes it just seem like it's more, I don't know, not like respectable, but more like just I don't know, what's the word I'm looking for. It just made it seem more like
it's just a bond between Dragon Rider and Dragon.
Yeah. But I don't know. What's the next one you got for the second half here?
So I've got written down, obviously, Aegon's Dream of Ice and Fire was never mentioned in the book, so therefore that also connects to Rhaenyra and Allison never have the standoff with the dagger, because the dagger isn't a thing. The cat's paw dagger isn't an actual. Yeah. It's not a point,
Yeah.
So we don't have that standoff. We don't have the. We have the eye scene that still happens. The eye scene definitely happens with Damon, but we don't have the standoff with Allison and Helena.
Well, that's the thing too. And the girls aren't even there in that scene. It's Luke and Jace with Aemond, but the girls are the Bela and the other younger one. Those girls aren't even there. Yeah, they're not even there. But yeah, we still it's very similar. It's very similar with the whole eye thing, though, how it happens. But yeah, you're right. Then we don't get the Allison. We don't get the exclusive Funko Pop scene.
That standoff is very iconic for picturography, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very iconic for the show. They use that a lot for promotional stuff, and it's a made up stuff. It's not even part of the literature.
Yeah. It's So the exclusive Funko Pop is not even part of the book. Let's see. You got anything else before you head over before we get to the whole Viserys part? I'm trying to think. I guess I think there's definitely more in the front half that was changed in the back half. The Lena part was different. The no dagger. The girls were not in the cave. The burning of Bela. Trying to think.
Vaemon's death is different.
Oh yeah, Vaemond, Corlys's brother, who can keep his tongue.
Keep his tongue. That never happened. Yeah. He can keep his tongue. The line. Yeah, that never happened.
Yeah.
Do you remember how it happened?
I mean, I'm trying to remember now. I know he dies. I don't remember.
He flees. So he flees because he's not as close to the succession as you think. He's only a cousin of Corlys, not a brother. So he's not actually as close as you think. They changed that in the show, but in the book.
Oh, you mean Vaemond, right?
Vaemond is captured by Damon, and he is fed to Rhaenyra's dragon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Cyrax. Yeah. That's right. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, that's right. No, I remember. Yeah. he eats them. Yeah. I don't know if I like. I mean,
Very
I
different
think
scene, but we get the slice of the head.
Yeah, which is a great line, but I kind of like the dragon thing.
Well, I have a theory for why they didn't do the dragon thing, and Joffrey spoiled that for us in the Game of Thrones. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, I know that sucks. Yeah, I know. So
I'm not going to say anything else.
Yeah. So what Joffrey says, is that in the book?
Yeah.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah. So if you don't want spoilers for it, it's so terrible, and I hate that I know it.
Don't watch Game of Thrones.
I don't watch Game of Thrones or skip that episode. I'm not sure. It's like season 2 or something. Season 2 or 3. It's probably season 2 though, because I think what else? So then we have and I know we kind of skipped over this because it was just as useless in the book as it was in the show. Now I understand why it was so useless in the show. It was basically just to move the plot along and the stepstones. But the crab feeder is just as useless in the book as he is in the show. He actually might be in the show more than the book. And again, it goes down a little bit different. Damon doesn't go down there by himself, and it's more of an actual war, and he gets to him. But the crab feeder's useless.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess unless I'm forgetting anything else, then we get to Viserys' death, and this is again because there's no dagger. He dies by himself. Allison is not with him. And there's no mention that Aegon should be on the throne, so there's no confusion there. So what I'm really curious is that what is the motive, I guess, for Allison and all that? Because now in the book, the chapter I finished ends with Viserys' death. So I don't see I don't see Aegon become the king. We don't see Meleys busting from the bottom of the citadel or whatever it is. But I think
the dragon keep.
Yeah, like I don't even know, and I think you told me that's not the way it goes down in the book. We don't get to see Jace and Luke fly off on their dragons. So all like those 2 episodes, like I ended with Viserys' death, and Alicent was not there. So that's a huge change.
Yeah.
So what I'm curious to see is what in the book is going to be the motive for all this happening, or is it literally just because? Is it all on Otto because he just I don't know, and I don't want to know.
So you'll see very soon that it's very different, and the key character going forward that is a very different, polarizing character from show to book is King Aegon. And like you just said, it stops at Viserys' death. So you don't even get to know whether the whole chase scene that we get in the next episode, where they all go look for King Aegon and they have to try and find him. Remember that scene where one's sending one and one's sending the other, and they fight on the steps?
Oh yeah, and he's under the. That doesn't happen either, huh?
No, it's a completely different take on how Aemond becomes king.
Well, do you want to give us a couple minutes of just explain the difference between episodes 9 and 10 in the book? I mean, I don't mind getting a few spoilers for the book because I've seen the show and I'm curious to see what the difference is. So if you want to talk for a couple minutes and just kind of go through those 2 episodes, I mean, you're basically at the death of Viserys, and then basically those, so episodes 9 and 10. I don't know how much you can say.
I do have it written down for Aegon.
Because does Aegon? So we see Aegon he still gets crowned king, right? In the actual book,
he takes it. He takes the crown. He doesn't. It's not like he's forced into it. It's not like they're making him do it. He takes it. He wants it and takes it.
He just takes it. That's interesting. That's different. Yeah, I mean that's a lot different. He didn't even want the crown. Yeah. So why? So I wonder why they switched that. Because that's a huge difference. Because Aegon in the show, man, he's horrible. Like I can't stand that character. And then I feel like once he actually walks and gets the crown on, he kind of sees the power he has, and I think that's when he kind of realizes, I can't believe I must do this away. But then, like in the but that's a big change in his character between the book and the show. Then to get him there,
yeah, it's very big, and the battle between him and his brother Aemond, it is different. And with the show, the way I feel like they're doing it is, for me, they're pushing that Aemond is going to be king. We see more of his leadership qualities as a character than we do Aegon's. Aegon is naked and sleeping with the maidens and stuff like that, whereas Aemond is saying, Aemon even says to Kristen Cole, I want to be found. When they come looking for me to be king, I'll be there. I won't be hiding away. And they kind of play at it. But
so you're saying in the show you think they're leaning toward Aemon being the king, or you're in the show. And okay, interesting. Yeah. And then what about the
because
whole?
he says in the show, I'll have it, and his brother didn't want it.
Yeah. So when he's being crowned king, do we see Rhaenys and Meleys at all?
No.
Does that doesn't happen at all like that?
No. It happens later. There is a scene, but Aegon is actually in battle. No, yeah, Aegon is actually in battle, and we haven't seen that in the show.
Okay. So that was so they either moved it or changed it or just decided to add it. Okay.
They moved it because they moved it because in the trailer they show us shots of the Battle of Rook's Rest. They show us the Battle of Rook's Rest, and I believe that they've changed what happened with Rhaenys going through the floor, and they've took the consequences of the battle that should have happened, and they've taken it to Rook's Rest. So that's where I believe we'll be going.
Because I mean, she has the opportunity to basically take them all out, and she just says she basically doesn't do it because she's just like, it's not my battle. But then again, and at that point, is she reunited with Corus? Or is that in episode 10 that she actually reunites with him? Because I mean, she basically said
10 might be.
Because I guess they probably don't even join the fight until she ends up going back with Corlys. So that's okay. It's an interesting thing that they do, that they switched it, because I feel like it kind of changes her character a little bit. Like, first of all, why did you even come through the floor if you weren't going to do anything? Like, were you literally just trying to scare them? Like, it's interesting. I don't know. And then she's like, "Well, I'm not going to do it because it wasn't my
thousands of people in the process of doing it."
Right. I mean, oh, sure, but like, what was the actual overall like point of it in the show? Like, why? If you weren't going to just take them out, then why even bother? And I know I think she was trying to escape or something, and she found her way down where Meleys was, if I remember correctly. Wasn't she like running around the town? She was running around like, I'm pretty sure she was. So. And then
the
I don't know.
Brother saved her and had the crown, and they were going to return the crown to Rhaenyra. And then she said, "I can't go without my dragon," so she went down to get the dragon.
Right. Okay. I mean, that could be just that's the way they're showing that she escaped. I guess maybe that could be what they were thinking there. And then I don't know. Episode 10. Again, I don't know how much you want to say. Before we get there, one thing I did forget to mention. Lars Strong, I mean, he's definitely not the same kind of character in the book. I mean, he definitely comes across as Littlefinger type, but like, he's not like I think you had told me, like, he doesn't have the foot fetish. We never really find out what happened with Harlan Strong and his father. It's Harwin, and
that's to come. So you didn't listen to the fire at Harrenhal? That hasn't happened in the book for you yet.
No. Well, no, I think it did.
That's gonna happen.
No, it happened. It just sounded like it would just happen to be a fire. I don't think they ever. They don't really ever say anything about it being Lars, though. Lars doing it to his family.
Yeah, no, because there was rumors that it was Daemon in the book.
Right, there's rumors that it was Daemon. Right, that's exactly right. Yeah, and we don't get any of that in the show. We know it's Laris, but like, okay, I don't know.
In the book, Laris is also a seerseer. He's a seerseer, which means he can do things that Bran Stark can do, and we haven't seen that in the book yet in the show.
You said he can do things like Bran. It can.
Yeah, he can like walk into rats and things like that, and that's why we get symbolisms of rats everywhere in the show. And yeah, and that's taken straight from the books. That Laris is a seerseer.
And you think they're going to add that to the show?
Maybe. I would like to see it. Maybe I think that would be good for the magic aspect of the show, because we missed that aspect from the Game of Thrones. We still need it.
Yeah, there's no magic at all right now. Okay, interesting, very interesting. All right, anything else you want to say then about like kind of like the way the season 1 ended? So I know you had mentioned it briefly. Is it basically go down the same, or Vhagar and Aemond are already there by the Baratheons? Because what is it? Is that
pretty much? It's pretty much the same. Yeah, he arrives, and Aemond is at the Baratheon homestead, and at Storm's End, and yeah, he is to choose a wife, and he says he can't because his mother has already betrothed him to somebody else. He's only here on a mission, and yeah, the chomp still happens, but it's back and forth. So while this is all happening, we're also following his brother on his missions to Winterfell and what he's going on with, and there's love interests and all stuff that gets played over there. So the chomp really does come as a big like turn pager, oh my god, shock moment, like it does in the show. Like 1 minute we're talking about Jacaerys in Winterfell, the next minute we turn over and it's, you can't hide down there, little boy, I've got a bigger dragon than you. And then yeah, we raise out into the sunlight and get the chomp. So it's pretty cool.
So in the book, is it made out to be like Aemond did not really mean to do it? Because in the show you could tell Aemond did not want that to happen. It was more Vhagar than anything. Is it played out the same way?
In the books it showed that the dragon, he goes back all apologetic and like, I really didn't know, I had no control, I didn't mean to do it. But he then gets teased as a kinslayer, like Jaime Lannister for killing your own kind and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's all to come. The most poignant thing that I think they did spot on though, and probably my final thing for this evening, is the death of the baby. It is in episode, remember when she has the dragon baby?
Oh, you're talking about Rhaenyra. Wait, what baby we talking about?
In the final episode, when she's having the baby and she's screaming.
Yeah, Rhaenyra
when she's having the baby in the last
then episode. Then she loses the baby. Yeah.
They did that to a T.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's crazy. Cool. It's a dragon in the book. It's got a tail and scales and everything. It's really creepy story to read. But yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. that is a good part of the chapter. So, but I mean, if you guys are interested in reading it, or listen to the audiobook, and you don't want to listen to the entire thing because it is long, it takes a long time to get to where we are in House of the Dragon. I think it's called just called the Succession of the Heir or something like that. It's like right in the middle.
Question of succession.
That's what it is. Yeah, and it's only about an hour. It's an hour and
57 minutes long. Yeah, an hour.
Yeah, it's not. It's like an hour and a half.
37 minutes or something.
Yeah, it's not long.
That tells the whole series of the show.
Yeah. So you can check that out. It's pretty good. Hour and a half. You can probably listen to it in a couple of days driving to work and back. But I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting though after reading it.
And if you enjoyed this episode of Green Headless talking about these breakdowns, sorry to cut you up, but my Wi-Fi is terrible, so I speak when you're not speaking, but I think it's the Wi-Fi.
No. You're good.
If you're enjoying these stuff and you like them, this is just a part one of these book to show things that we'll do. Once they bring out more episodes and Terry can listen to a couple more lines or a couple more chapters, we'll come back and we'll talk about the differences again. Maybe we could do that every week if we can notice differences.
Yep. that's kind of what the plan would be. Because I now after, like I said, now after reading it, I was like, I like going back, because like I said, I've watched the show 4 times all the way through, and now I've listened to this, and it is good to kind of see the differences, and I'll be curious to see how it feeds into season 2. So, but I don't know, anything else for the good of the order. I think we pretty much covered everything. I mean, there's not much more I can think that
there is rumors that they're writing season 3. There is rumors they're writing season 3 right now, and then stay tuned for a video that will be coming out on my channel next week, and it's the Duncan Egg. So I don't know if people know this, but HBO have greenlit a new series, and that's coming out also this year, and it's the telling of Duncan Egg, which is a very good story from Game of Thrones lore that George R.R. Martin wrote. And yeah, stay tuned. There's a trailer that they kind of dropped, so we'll watch that in the trailer, and that'll be coming also. That'll be more content for Game of Thrones.
That's like in between House of Dragon and Game of Thrones, right? Is that after the math? That's after the fact, right? Or no?
Yeah, after Robert's Rebellion. After Robert's Rebellion, okay. And the Blackfires.
So that gets us closer to the actual Game of Thrones timeline. So, but all right, guys, thank you so much for listening,
cool.
Tuning in today. We'll be back next Wednesday, and I have a video dropping tomorrow on an unboxing. I actually got it sitting right over here. I just got to open it up and make the video, and so that'll drop tomorrow. And so thank you so much. Don't forget to follow both of us on Instagram, the old Instagram over there, where you can get all the links that you need whenever we go live or drop videos. And Anthony Blaze is still lurking because he wants me to go play Fortnite. It's not going to happen tonight, though. I have to get up and go back to work tomorrow. So, all right, guys. For Ryan, I am Headless. Thank you so much. Keep those heads on. Stay milky. And we are going to see you guys in the next video.